G'day guys, as usual at the moment, just with these conditions, it's just impossible. Basically restarting to do all these markets every Saturday morning at the moment, which is great fun. 10 races, trying to knock them over after scratchings. Obviously have a good look at them prior, but they just completely change dynamics and complexion come Saturday morning, so it's just impossible without the ratings in the final fields to really do too much. You can adapt, but it's you've got to write everything up. So unfortunately that's kind of how it has to be at the moment. I think it works out well because like Wednesday, you really get a chance to sort of look at things and the first couple of races, sort of if you can get the last couple out just after those first few run, you get a much better idea of how these tracks are going to play. Much less guessing is where I'm running. I'm only going to do the first 4 races early, simply because the 5th race is possibly the worst race I've ever seen in my life on a Saturday, but I'll get the first 4 out, concentrate on the last few, finalising them and doing any tinkering that needs, and get them out as soon as I can. Race 1 is a pretty good race actually for 2-year-olds. Short horse come up short here in what's it called? O Tycoon, who's a first starter. Thought very aggressively priced early. Think that its trials are okay. Didn't really look like a push button horse. Looks quite strong and importantly gets the nice run on speed. With Vinny Spirit, they look to control the tempo. That's probably the key to their chances. O Tycoon obviously not in there currently, but I can put it in there. I think it'll be somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Vinny Spirit leads and O Tycoon probably sits just off it. Obviously, again, no surprise if it leads either, but both of them pretty aggressive stables. Interesting to see what Northern Speeches does. It and this horse, Candos Cosmos, were both restrained from wide draws at Canterbury and Gosford, respectively. Both of them finished off really well. Thought Candos Cosmos, even though it was completely flattered by the tempo and the ride it was given, was really strong through the line there, only having its first start in a race, and importantly, that predicted back position is not sort of set in stone. It could easily settle, midfield or somewhere around that, and be much harder to beat if it does that, and can improve. So it's a pretty query filled race. Vinny Spirit also jumps from 1,000 to 1,200. Thought it had its chance, certainly at Kembla last start, but 1,000 not really its go. 1,200 much more up its alley, and if it gets rolling here, can run well. Valspar is the query runner, 161 days, being gelded. Trialled up okay, but it certainly looks like it wants further than 1,200 and will give them a start. I would say it's probably likely to be last in the run. So 4 main chances, Northern Spirit and Candos Cosmos certainly had excuses first up. Think that Northern Beach is coming out of the strongest form race. Clearly, I think that Resonator form is very good. Just the draw for it, where it ends up, is a bit of a nightmare. It does get Bowman. Candos Cosmos is a series query runner. Not worried that it started $61 on debut, unfashionable stable, and it's not surprising they let it go around at crazy odds for a horse that had looked okay at the trials. O Tycoon obviously and Vinny Spirit control the speed. Both can run well, but both seem short enough. So I think it's a no value race, the first, but not a bad race. Race 2, the Highway, another pretty tricky race. Thought that Boom Boom Basil just stood out on value alone in race 2. Does need to negotiate this wide draw, so it's drawn third wide of the speed. I think Hardware Lane would love to take a sit. I'm just hoping they sort of push straight to the front with Boom Boom Basil, and that really makes it the one to beat here, rather than messing around and trying to slot in or find a position where this rider can sort of get a bit lost when he tries to do that. So I'd rather than press the button and take on a few horses there now that he's hard fit and ready to go, that may be vulnerable for taking that position, as in, they might be keen to try and half find a spot, and when that sort of takes place, usually you can get the jump on them and control the race, which is what I'd love to see from Boom Boom Basil. I think $10 or $11, whatever it is certainly fair enough. Hardware Lane was dominant last start, had everything to go its way there, and I don't think that was a super strong race. I think the $2.40s representative of a similar run in similar class, and I think it's harder here and possibly gets a tougher run. I don't think it's a given that it finds a perfect position, so happy to take it on at the price. Don't want to lay it, but just bet around it potentially. The horse that's quite interesting is Tigertude. Resumed over 950, found the right part of the track there at Grafton, got down the middle and knocked him over. That wasn't surprising. The price probably was a little bit. Again, went around a price at Bow Desert, got beat this time, but jumped from 950 to 1200 metres and really did savage the line there. Again, I'm not sure if that was the right part of the track. I didn't do the whole meeting, but hit the line really well, and just considering it was jumping 250 metres in distance, you'd expect it to improve again here off that. Inside draw, where it gets to obviously, and any traffic that it runs into is quite important, but does look a really scary horse. Mark will Dancer, always a chance in these sorts of races, just gets back and runs on, but I don't know about a strong 1200 for it, especially on heavy. And Overextend, I thought had its chance to beat Hardware Lane, or finish closer to Hardware Lane. Did get held up last start, but I thought it was just sort of a bit plain through the line. Can improve off that fitness-wise, possibly, but does need to turn the table pretty heavily. I think the main two there are Boom Boom Basil and Hardware Lane. Could I possibly back Hardware Lane at the price? Absolutely not. Could I back Boom Boom Basil? Yes. So I think Boom Boom Basil is a small option in race 3. Race 2. Race 3, pretty simple race. Rangi Toll probably leads, or will lead, I would imagine, unless something weird happens. French Bonnet very likely to sit outside it. What happens with Elusive Jewel at the start is important. I think if it pushes forward, like it did last start, to hold a position and slots in behind them, I think it's very hard to beat here. Just sort of fourth up, back from 16 to a mile. I think if it gets put into the race on the turn, it's probably a little bit fitter than Rangi Toa, and may be able to just be out toughing it. The scary horse is French Bonnet. Forgive last start, just got caught wide at Hawkesbury, which is not easy. Back in the ruck, and it wasn't easy to run on there. So if it lobs outside leader, it's dangerous. I think its price looks like well and truly fair enough, and Elusive Jewel's the obvious one with a nice sit right behind them. Think it looks very hard to beat. Don't think they're the most reliable horses, so not keen to chime in too heavily, but do think that if Elusive Jewel's ridden nicely, it should be closer in the market to Rangi Toa. I think it's very short, and it wouldn't surprise me if a horse like Phillipsburg ran on from just behind them as well, back in grey. Race 4, tough race. Highly Desired looks like it will roll forward. I hope that Marnix does roll forward in an on-pace position. Momac can get going and over race, so I'd expect it to be a big chance of possibly leading, if not outside leader, and then Son of Samson sits behind. So if that's the way it falls, and Highly Desired leads with Momac, and in behind them is Marnix and Son of Samson, the horse I want to find here is Marnix. Back in distance, back in grade. Don't love the heavy track for it, but super fit and just gets the right run, and hoping this track's not quite as bad as they think, or they're saying. It looks like it can possibly get to the right part in the straight and should get the nice run in transit. Bazooka is a horse that's resuming a very poor strike rate, but it does usually improve with racing. But interesting that this stable sort of seems to have targeted a few first up races recently. Only the one trial publicly, but 1400 sort of suggests that it's probably ready to go. Inside draw, right jockey, and is dangerous, but does look short enough. Highly Desired, as mentioned, gets every chance completely. No more excuses for it here. Claim looks handy and gets up on speed, but always vulnerable to a horse with a turn of foot. Son of Samson's going very well for the new stable. Perfectly drawn, goes and sits right behind them. Don't think it's a superstar either, but does get the right run. Media Sargus, a horse I do like, very solid fresh, maybe needs one more, and no clue where it gets to, like drawn complete outside gate here. Do they just take it back and ride for luck again? Dangerous horse in the race, without doubt. What price is it? So $7. So you're not getting much of a premium considering where it might be in the run. And again, it is the query runner, resumed in a Group 3 1400. Very weird for a horse that's only won over 1100 and never tested past 1200 before this prep. Comes back to this grade, stays at 1400 and gets Bowman. So very interesting horse in and again, but I thought it was probably short enough off the setup. Not really sold on it at 1400, but no surprise to see it run very well. Just smelly, very smelly setup. So for me, Marnix ticks most of the boxes. If it had heavy track form, I'd be probably backing it. Just looks like it gets a perfect run here. There are scary runners in the race. Highly Desired gets the right run. Bazooka's scary. Media Star gets scary. Son of Samson gets the right run, and again scary. But it's just a not much of a race, and I thought it was sort of Marnix if you wanted to or had to play in the race. That was the best, worst option. So that's the first 4. I'll get back with the rest as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.